recorded.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to welcome all of you guys to the call tonight. Carl is out tonight with his poopsie. It hurts. I don't know what his good deal is. But anyway, he's not going to be here tonight. He's going to be here next week. Super excited. But you know what? All is not lost. Natasha Jordan is also here as well. Welcome to the call, Natasha. Glad you're here.
Hello. How is everybody doing?
Man, everybody out here is doing pretty good. Stephanie's on the call tonight. We got Nathan on the call on the other side on TikTok land, and everybody's just waving at you. Glad that you're here tonight. And Natasha, what are we talking about tonight? What are we gonna do tonight? I think
debt and foreclosure. I just recently learned as far as like when to foreclose on somebody, how to foreclose on them, and the ins and outs of why I should or could. For example, as we were talking a while ago, that I had a boat that's been financed. And so company XYZ started off financing them. And then I got a letter in the mail saying that, well, your bank has changed to this person over here. Well, I didn't realize that they were trying to recontract with me and making presentment. And I was like, okay, so the way that I was raised with high school is, oh, well, they're just changing banks. They do that all the time. So just continue to make the payment. But then I didn't realize that I should have challenged it and say, okay, well, let's make sure that you are this bank that you're saying that you are, and so it's kind of interesting and learning, just different things in contracting. When should you pay attention to stuff like that and just let it go? Could you be making some big mistakes?
absolutely. Yeah, and I see that like all the time. I see that in the little things, with the travel and driving class, and these guys are always contracting too. They walk up to your door and they'll say stuff like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?"
Mm-hmm.
Why would you know why that they pulled you over? Because you're going to tell it on yourself. Shh.
Mm-hmm.
And the less we know, the better. I mean, the less that they know, the better. Not the less we know, the better. The less they know, the better. This class that's coming up on the 4th and 5th, we're going to be talking about how to foreclose on your lenders. And a lot of times, so I guess the bigger thing here, Natasha, is that people don't understand how these security agreements actually work, these contracts. They don't. I mean, for example, you're going to go to your bank, okay? And you're going to see that sign up there. It says every deposit is insured for up to $250,000 FDIC, right? But then you're gonna go asking for $450,000 on a house. How are they going to do that? Are they going to go get it from the back? You know what I mean? That's really deceiving. When you think about that. I mean, think about that, everybody, right? Would you agree, Natasha? That's kind of deceiving.
Yeah, it is, especially, so you're saying you only have this amount of money, but you're going to give me this amount of money. So where are you getting it from and how?
So that's what is the $5 million question. That's exactly right. And we're going to be talking about that in the class. We're going to talk to you about, where these things are funded and, why do I think I know so much? Well, I spent 23 years in the car business and 8 years as a finance director. So I've seen a lot of paper cashed. Now, my parents were, and they still are, they're actually realtors. And I grew up watching them spinning paper too, with my little Deanie Owens outfit, going in there, turning on all the lights for my mom. Well, while I was doing all that, I was still paying attention and watching all these things that go on. For example, when you walk into the closing room, and you're buying your house, you're paying cash for it or whatever, and the lady walks in there and says, "I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna kill them." There we go. And the lady walks in there and says, "None of this is going to be reported to the IRS." What do you mean none of this is going to be reported to the IRS? Why wouldn't you report this to the IRS? But you know what? They'll look you right in the face and they'll tell you that. This class, I'm going to be explaining why that happens. I'm going to be also explaining how you can get a $450,000 loan from a bank that says that from a bank that can only guarantee a $250,000 deposit. What do we do? What do we do? How do we fix that, Natasha? You know what I mean? Did they rip us off? I had some guy that told me that today. Well, all loans are fraudulent anyway. So they have no standing in contract. Do you agree with that statement? That's a silly statement, isn't it?
Yeah, I always hear the ones that saying it's all fake money. It's just currency, and it's not backed by your silver and gold. It's all fake money and stuff. So, and I'm like, oh, okay, but still, how are you buying stuff?
Well, and you know, they're correct in a small, minuscule kind of way. They're actually correct. It is fake money. It isn't backed by anything, but it is backed. Well, it's not backed by silver and gold, but it is backed. Oh, I hate flies. It is backed by your labor. And a dear friend of mine and I were actually talking about that this morning. We were talking about the whole birth certificate thing. And I mean, we'll just talk about it now. You guys have all heard it. You're worth your weight in gold, right? You've heard it. We've all heard that cliche, right? Well, that's how your value is set up. That's how it's set up. But they also look at some other factors too. They look at your family, they look at their ability to perform and to make money. And this is why you have some children, like Chris Rock will tell you this. This is why you have some children that have 500 beacon scores when they're born, and then you have some that have 700 beacon scores when they're born. Well, that's why. We carry the sins of our parents. We totally do that. So in this class, we're going to be talking a lot about how all that stuff works. And of course, the real good stuff is how did I foreclose on my lenders? How did I take my car from my lenders? And I'm going to prove it. Not just show you, but I'm going to prove it. I'm going to show you exactly how I did it, step by step, and how it worked. Now, before you get excited and go strap underwear on your head and run down the street, don't get too excited, because you have to find a flaw. You have to find a legitimate flaw. And like Natasha was saying earlier, a lot of people will say stuff about, it's all fraud. Well, it's not fraud. If everybody's doing it, it's not fraud. What it is you've got a system that's working, and you've got people that are following it, and lots of people following it. I don't know, who is this? Anyway, lots of people follow it, and and they're struggling, and because they're following it, you have equity that's moving into place. And because people are moving in equity, that's the highest jurisdiction. How is that 450 created from a bank that can only give you 250? Equity. Yeah, that's exactly how it's created. So what we have to understand is that our money system is not a bucket of money over here and we're throwing it in over here. It doesn't quite work that way. In this class, I'm going to be talking to you exactly how it is, exactly the way this stuff is done. I'm going to show you how these contracts are built. I'm going to show you how they come apart. So if you understand how these security agreements are built and you understand how they're coming apart, then that puts you in the driver's seat regarding your loans, regarding everything else. Another thing we're going to be talking about is position and vehicle. Okay. And I'm not talking about your cars. What I'm talking about, your position and what vehicle are you using to get to where you need to get. Okay. The borrower is very limited. Hey, Tim, welcome to the call. Iris, also welcome to the call. Kelly, thank you for being here. Joy. So why do they do this? Why do they create all this? Because we have an equity-based system, okay? We don't shovel money from one pile to another pile. We have performance. So, and that performance may actually mean that you are making payments, okay? But understand, it's about your performance. It's not necessarily about the payments. I mean, it is, but the performance is first. Because if all of the contracts are performing, then the people that wrote these contracts, I'm going to show you in this class, have an opportunity to get paid big time. Did you know that you're supposed to get the note back? Did you know that? You're supposed to. After you pay off your stuff, they're supposed to give you the note back. I'm going to show you the CFR code that explains where they're supposed to do it. Not only that, but I have a template that you can use to send out so you can actually get that documentation. And what if they don't give it to you? What if they just don't want to? Better yet, What if they don't have it? What if they don't have your note? Because if you have a car loan, they don't have your note. I'm just going to tell you that now. So how do we deal with that? Did we call them out? Did we go picket the bank and go in the front and say, they don't have the note. They don't have the note. Did we do that? No, we don't do that. Someone that works while things are quiet is someone that's going to get a lot of things done. Somebody that's out there banging around with a sign has got all of their energy in that sign. And that requires no brain power to do that. So we have to use our brains. And we do. And it's just a better way to do this. I've seen other folks in this movement, and they may be correct. They may be right as rice. But where I think they're failing is that they're not packing up their suitcase properly. And when I say their suitcase, what I'm talking about is that they're not showing up like they should. They're not showing up being honest. They're showing up in a different kind of light. And of course, we justify it by saying, well, we don't know what's going on in our contract, so therefore it must be fraud. So we can act like this too. No, that's not how that works. Because if you understand everything that's going on in your contract, that kind of stuff will never happen. It will absolutely never happen, because you'll be at a point where you can hold them accountable. So, and you guys have any questions about that? I see a lot of folks jumping on the call here on TikTok, man. So glad all of you guys are here. Kirby, Iris, glad you guys are here. Ms. Truman, glad you're here. Paula, glad you made it on the call as well. That's what's up. Thank you all for being here on the call. One of the other things that we're going to be talking about in the class too, Natasha, what am I missing? Let's see. We did we talked about getting notes back. We talked a little bit about foreclosure. And this has to do with anything that has secured property, okay? Credit cards, those are unsecured notes. And we're going to talk about how to deal with those too. What else am I missing here, Natasha? I think I'm missing something here.
No, we talked about performance and stuff like that. But my question is why, whenever you say they don't have your notes, why would they actually sell it? Is that what they're doing? Whenever
Sometimes, like in a car, like in an automobile situation, what happens is the bank's actually assigned the note from the dealer, and the dealer is actually operating as a creditor. So just for a little while, even though the dealership is not a bank, they operate just for a little bit. They operate as a creditor. John, welcome. John Rocha. I got to tell you, John just jumped on the call, and this is a guy that took my class, and he's foreclosed on numerous lenders and just straight up taking their collateral. Sorry, I don't mean to put you out there like that, John. But anyway, he's done it, and he's been very successful doing it. So I can tell you that these things can be done. It can happen. I had a court case, I don't know, a few years ago, and I had a credit union take me to court because we foreclosed on them and took their car from them. And they were a little bit mad about that. And one of the things that the attorney said I thought was absolutely classic was he said, well, Judge, what if everybody just wrote a letter like this? The judge had nothing to say at all. Like, we need to protect the banking. Yeah, he's dope. Stephanie's got a good question. What about a UCC lien? And I've seen some people doing that. I did a video on that recently about some respectable looking person that was doing not very respectable things, but he was actually sitting in a Corvette that was out, sitting out front, so the top was down and whatever. So he just jumped in it like a burglar and decided and told them that he put a UCC lien on this car. And here's your problem with people doing that sort of stuff. If there's no exchange of goods, and a signature is not an exchange of goods, the signature comes as a result of an exchange of goods. The 1099 comes as a result of exchanging goods and or property. Okay. That's when those things come into play. If you start playing those things out or start putting liens on property that doesn't belong to you, or creating a security interest where you really don't have a security interest. And again, that's where there's an exchange of funds or goods, okay? If there's no exchange of that stuff, you're committing a crime. And I'm seeing that on TikTok. Like I was saying, I saw some guy and he did it, and I did a video on it, and he's just sitting there in a Corvette trying to just intimidate the salesperson. And I mean, the salespeople aren't smart enough to even fall for any of that stuff. So that was his first mistake. His second mistake, well, because that's high finance. They don't talk about high finance. His second mistake is he didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't using the right language. When you start moving in equity or common law or uniform commercial code, which, by the way, all three of those are the same thing. Did you know that? I'm going to be talking about that in this class. A lot of people don't know that. I'm going to say that one more time. Equity, uniform commercial code, common law. They're all the same thing. They're all the same thing. Uniform commercial code is equity and or the other codified. So basically it's codified into laws and giving instructions for the lower courts to operate in, okay? Or for business people to operate in. And that's really what that's for. But, be careful. Be careful with these guys that are talking about, going out and filing UCC liens, because what you're going to notice is before you hit the go button, those of you guys that have figured out how to file anything in the Secretary of State's office in your state or any other state, there's a disclaimer that pops up and it says, it is a crime to file anything that's fraudulent. What is something that's fraudulent? Obviously, on its face, if it's a lie, it's fraudulent. Okay, so we get that definition out of the way. Another term for fraudulent is if you don't understand your paperwork enough to explain it, your paperwork could be found fraudulent. And here's why. All they have to do is ask you a couple of questions. And if you can't explain it, even if it's correct, you're filing something knowingly fraudulent because you don't know what's in your paperwork. And this is the little game that they'll play. So you need to be very careful before you file anything with the Secretary of State's office. And before you file a lien on anything, you need to make sure that you have an exchange of funds or property for that. Because if you don't, you're a thief. You're just being a thief. And people are going to jail for this. People are going to jail all over the country right now for this. Are there any questions out there? Natasha, do you have any questions? Anything?
Well, I was kind of going back to the debt and foreclosure and with the discharge, those two classes kind of get me a little confused. As far as, with those two. So whenever I look at my security agreements and stuff with the debt of it, is that in dealing with credit cards or hospital bills or anything else? Can I charge those off, or is that part in the class?
Oh yeah, we're going to be covering that. So there's two different templates that are in the class. We have the one templates that are going to cover those kinds of debts, which are called unsecured debt. So any kind of unsecured debt that's revolving, that might be bad, on your credit report, something that may have been sold to a third party or another lender. We have a form just for that. And then we have another form that is more for you taking control and foreclosing on the whole thing and shutting down the entire loan. You can't do that. And, a lot of people get the two classes kind of confused, but the debt equity and foreclosure class and the tax equity and discharge class really work hand in hand together. And the reason why they work hand in hand together is because you have to set up the claim first. And in this class, we're going to be talking about contracting. We're going to be talking about setting up these people that are sending you stupid stuff in the mail. Okay. And so then by the time that you've done your documentation, you've got everything together, and you end up at the end of the tax year. Okay. Then you have an opportunity to actually discharge 100% of all that debt and more importantly, get the tax credits back. Okay. There's a lot of folks talking about discharging the debt. One of the things we're also going to be talking about is remittances. There's a lot of that going on around there, Oh, mail your remittance here, turn it into a check, send it to the CFO of Hoogie Doogieville or whatever, and get your stuff paid. No. There's actually a CFR code that's out there. I'm going to be showing it to you. And this code is actually going to tell you where your remittances actually go. And if you're doing your part and doing the other part, then you too may have an opportunity to double dip. And that's always a good thing. So Stephanie's got a question here. It says, say you put a UCC lien on a car and then went to the title company to get a loan for the car, and the car was repossessed in a hotel parking lot. Whoa, is that an exchange of goods? No, that's a really messed up situation. So let me read this again. So you put a lien on a car and then went to the title company and got a loan on the car. Well, my question would be, how did you get a loan on the car when you didn't have a clear title? And then, how it was repossessed in a hotel parking lot. Well, that leads to a lot of questions about the hotel. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it was completely innocent. But is there an exchange of goods? Maybe. Never mind. That's funny, though. No, I don't believe that there is an exchange of goods. At least I didn't see that in your statement anywhere, honestly. Are there any other questions about debt, equity, foreclosure? Happy to help. What about when you start getting those notices from people? Well, the one thing that you're going to learn in this class is we're going to be talking about presentments. And when these people are moving in common law, because that's what they're doing, then as they're moving in common law, you need to recognize that they're moving in, they're trying to make presentment. And if they can make a presentment that you can accept, and what is acceptance? Acceptance is done by the actions of the two parties acting as such. Okay. If you're with your significant other, you're probably going to hold their hand. You may open their car door. You may tell them how beautiful they look. You may tell them how handsome they look, whatever. But these are all things that we do, and it demonstrates these things. So to the same effect, we all have, this is what has to happen in this bigger deal here. It was paid off. Man, I would report it stolen. If somebody did that, if somebody took my car and the car was paid off, I would definitely report it stolen. Yeah, that's not okay. And if you know who the tow truck company is, this is a good class for you guys to get into. If you know who the tow truck company is that took your car there, Stephanie, you want to make presentment to them and a demand. And if they don't give it back to you, I'll show you how to close out that debt for the end of the year in this class. It's a really great class. Are there any other questions, comments out there about this class? Anything else? We're not going home yet. Also, like I said before, we're going to talk about getting the notes back. Yeah, that's a really important thing. Another thing we're going to be talking about is monetizing these contracts, monetizing these security agreements. I mean, how do we get paid on these things? I mean, sure, we get the note back and you're holding it in your hand, but you're not really going to pay too many bills when it's in that capacity. So how do we make that equitable for us? How do we make that work for us? I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to monetize those guys and get paid on them, because as you should. I mean, they're doing the same thing to us. So all this stuff is happening behind closed doors all the time. So just had to kind of go from there. All right. Any other questions, comments, man? Hey, thank you guys all for joining us. Thank you guys for all of your input. Love it, man. Good stuff. Thank you, Justin, for joining us. Appreciate you as well. Advocacy 64. Thank you, man. Appreciate the comments. That's what's up. So one of the things, and I guess, the big part of this class, and this is the stuff that most people want to see, is they want to see how I foreclosed on my lenders. How did I do it? And more importantly, how did I get clear title on my car in 45 days? I've had that same car now I'm going into my second year now, and still no issues. So there's the short-term and the long-term proof. It's going to be a really great class. I'm going to show you exactly step-by-step what happened, how it happened, and more importantly, how to read your players, the other side, how to read what they're thinking. And then that's going to tell you how much you can get away with, really. Because if these people are egotistical people, all you got to do is push their buttons, and they're going to act up and start doing silly stuff all by themselves. No help from you. Won't need it. But that's what they'll need. That's what will happen. Oh man, that's a drag. I cannot imagine that, Stephanie. I'm sorry that happened to you. Whew. But you know, I definitely, if you know who the tow truck company is, you definitely want to reach out to them really quickly. Make demand on that. That's ridiculous. Excuse me. I hope everybody's having a good Labor Day, by the way. I've done 0 labor today. It's been a very relaxing day. So glad all of you guys are here. You say good morning. Oh, well, good morning to you. Oh, that's the name of your channel. Okay. Florida, UK, welcome. Jeff, welcome. Glad you guys are here on the call. You know, how do you deal with this stuff? How do you deal with third-party debt collectors when they're calling you? I mean, there's some legitimacy to what they're doing because they know something and they're obviously talking to you about it and they're trying to resolve it. But what they're really trying to do is they're trying to make presentment and they're trying to get acceptance from you. So if they can get acceptance from you, then they have privilege to go forward. Now, like I've always told everybody, I'm an opportunist, okay? And I look at every situation as an opportunity to do it better. I look at every situation, good, bad, or ugly, trying to make it benefit myself. So when you think about these, you know, you think about what they're doing out there, and of course, you know, they're double dipping us over here, and then they're doing fractional lending every time we make a deposit. You know, how do we make that stuff work for us? We understand the art of discharge. We understand the art of going forward. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you about this class is that you're not going to be able to go back and go resurrect all the dead memories and all the things that have happened in your life. But going forward, you'll be able to lay some incredible ground. And this is stuff that your family is going to see. These are results your family is going to see around you. Your people are going to see around you. They're not going to think you're nuts. I get a lot of folks that, you know, that will tell me, oh, I've been excommunicated from, you know, my family because of what I think. Well, think about it. Some of this stuff that's coming in and some of this stuff that's out there, you know, next week, we're going to be talking about Chris Hauser. We're going to be talking about a lot of the stuff that's going on in his camp. And I've got a special guest that'll be here this next week, and we'll be talking about that. He's going to be pulling up some files and some other things like that so that we could really discuss them and get into the what's up on this cat and find out what he's really all about. A lot of people are saying he's an FBI honeypot. He just might be. But Monday, we're going to talk about it. So, and this is kind of what we're all about. We are all about just making sure that we're spreading good truth, good information, and making sure that all of you have the opportunity to actually benefit from it, okay? I give away the nuggets on here all the time, and I don't care. I just want you guys to be successful in what you do. It breaks my heart to see people in dealing with lawsuits, you know, getting sued for debts, credit card debts and stuff like that. One of my sisters, she's actually on the call right now, and she got served recently, and we answered it. I'm going to show you how to deal with that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you how to deal with that stuff so quickly, so darn quickly, that you'll have everything wrapped up and done, and they're going to be out of time. See, they only have 30 days. Under FTCPA, they have 30 days to qualify what they're doing. If they let it go 31 days, they've lost their position. I'm going to say it one more time. If they've let it go more than 30 days, that creditor has lost its position. That means he can't do anything, or he shouldn't be able to do anything. Now, how do we stop that? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to go forward and ask those questions, those hard questions. And how do you ask those questions and actually make them stick? That's even the harder part. We're going to be talking about that. We are going to be talking about that. I'm super excited, man. This class is coming up on the 4th and the 5th. It's going to be from 6 to 9 p.m. Central Time. I like to keep these classes very small. So if you're interested in getting enrolled in the class and you're not able to get an appointment fast enough, I know the appointments are filling up right now, call my office, okay? Go to our website, houseofyahcommunityoutreach.com, and just call my office directly, okay? The number's on there. Just go check it out. It's www.houseofyahcommunityoutreach.com, and that Yah is spelled Y-A-H. So House of Yah Community Outreach. jump on the webpage, set up an appointment with me. I'd love to meet with you. Like I said, I know that some of the appointment times are getting they're getting scarce because we're getting close to the 4th and 5th. If that's you and you'd like to get in the class, bring your questions. Let's talk. Let's talk for a little bit and call my office. Excuse me. Excuse me. Call my office, and what we can do is we can get that set up for you. And I'll give you more of a preview on the class. If you've got something going on and you want to know how this class would interface with what you got going on, this is a good opportunity to do this. It's completely free. Won't cost you any time. Won't cost you anything but time. So if you guys are interested in doing that, feel free to go to the House of Yah Community Outreach webpage, schedule an appointment with me, or call the office directly. I'd love to meet with you. You guys out in TikTok land, you guys have any other questions about this upcoming class? I'm super excited. Those of you guys out in TikTok land and in Facebook land, if you guys go to my TikTok page, Real Results, Real Solutions, and go in there, you'll actually see the video of the bank actually trying to come out and take my car. And then they were told to put it down and it's back in my driveway again. Ooh, how did that happen? Somebody must have done something right. Somebody must have had themselves tested enough to be able to get through and walk through that kind of fire, because not many people can do that these days. There's a lot of people talking, okay? There's a lot of people out there, and they're talking about getting free cars. They're talking about 1099As, running around like a bunch of blank checks. And I'm here to tell you that's not what they're there for. Now, in this class, we have 4 classes that I have 4 classes that I actually teach. Actually, 5. We have a 5th class too. But anyway, out of 5 classes, the last class that we have is the debt, equity, and foreclosure class. This is an IRS class. This is about setting up your taxes properly, and not so you can go do them yourselves. I think that's the silliest thing you could ever do. When you've got all these people that are bonded and insured to do your taxes for you, why would you want to carry all that liability? Makes no sense. So I'm going to talk to you guys in this class about how that works in the discharge class. That's how that works. But we have to have a starting point. We have to have a foundation to go from here to get to here. If we're not doing that, then we're missing it. And we're missing it so bad. And you're not going to be successful. We're also going to be, like I said, talking about the 2 scenarios in this case, okay? I actually foreclosed on my lenders twice. Different lenders, of course, but I foreclosed on them twice and was able to take the collateral from them. And how did I do this? Well, I'm going to show you one time. The first time I did it, we went to court. I'm going to talk to you about all those parameters and what happened. What's happening, Matthew? Thank you for joining us. And then I'm going to show you everything that happened in between. I'm going to show you all the paperwork that was submitted. I'm going to show you everybody that saw everything. And more importantly, how did I respond to this stuff? How was I responding to these people back? Now, is this real tricky? It's really not tricky at all. And it's not because I did it. It's only because I've done it. Well, I've done it a few times, but it's not difficult when you understand who all the players in the game actually are. When you understand who all the players are, you know who's going to run on first base. You know who's going to run to second base. You know who's going to run third. You know who the outfielders are. You know who everybody is. So if the ball goes flying somewhere, you know exactly who's probably going to grab that ball. And you know who that needs to be? You. Because if we're contracting, then nobody else is. Huh? You hear me? If we're making the contracts, if we're making the decisions, if we're operating in the private like we're supposed to be, if we're really doing all these things, our evidence needs to be there. It's just too many teachers out there talking about doing processes that they haven't done. And they're everywhere. It's so frustrating. That's why next week we're going to be talking about Chris Hauser, because how's this guy able to get 12,000 views in a month, 15,000 views in a month? How's he getting that? Who's allowing him to do that? Somebody is. We're going to be talking about that next week. Really excited. Natasha, did you have anything you wanted to add in the class? Was there anything else I was missing, or in tonight's call that I might be missing?
No, in just one of your classes, the debt equity and stuff, I find that a lot of people are running around talking about your 1099 and throwing this one here and one there, but do you know how much you can use per year? And is there only just the 1099 Other ones are there. Are there 1099 and Bs and all that?
Well, yeah, well, there's a lot, and that's the hard part about all this is that you really have to know what all those forms actually mean. And all of those forms are actually, if you put them in a whole pile, according to the IRS, those are all class 5 gift forms, every one of them. Anything that's a 1099, anything that's a red form, W-2, whatever, those are meant for discharge only. And it has to, if you're not discharging your debt, then they're going to charge you for it in the end. What I'm seeing is that people are, what I'm seeing more often than not is that people are out doing their own taxes and they're submitting all these forms online and just waiting for something to come in. Guys, if someone's telling you guys to do that, don't do it. Please don't do it. They're setting you up for something much bigger. And you're talking about the IRS, you're talking about state and local police. I mean, they really could be up your behind depending on the state that you're in. So we've got to do things the right way. And the way to do things the right way is to make sure that you're operating in equity, which means that you're operating with witnesses. You're operating with other people that are standing there going, yes, that's what happened. Because if you're doing that, then nobody can really say that you're out doing something else. It just won't work out that way. Does that make sense, Natasha? I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
And so I'll be going in the tax equity discharge class. We actually go over all the 1099 forms. I go through every one of them. I tell you what they mean. I tell you how to use them. And more importantly, I tell you how to tell your CPA how to use them. That's kind of what we really focus on in that class. But tomorrow's class is kind of the foundation class for your disclosure, for your discharge class. Because if you don't have any of these things set up, if you haven't made presentment to these people, then you have no right to ask for relief. One of the things that I see with, those auditors that are out there always suing people, like, what's his name? The guy, that other handsome guy with the beard. What's his name? James, you know what I'm talking about, right? What's his name? James, I can't think of his last name. The guy with the red beard. Do you know what I'm talking about, Natasha?
I think I've seen him, but I'm like you. I just know the face. I don't know the name.
I can't think of his last name right now, but it's probably good because he'd probably be mad or something. I don't know. They don't like people using their names, without sending them $20 or something. I don't know. But anyway, somebody like that, these guys are big hitters in this game. And when I say in this game, I'm talking about in the freedom movement, and holding judges accountable and things like that. These guys are big hitters. They raised quite a bit of money and took 2 counties to court and won. I mean, they didn't win everything, but they won a lot of things. And the reason that they won is because they made proper presentment. They really did. The reason that they won is because there was obviously something wrong. The reason that they lost is because they never went to them and said, hey, you did X, Y, and Z and 1, 2, 3. So therefore you owe me this. Here's your opportunity to cure. If you don't give these people an opportunity to cure, you're not going to get anywhere with them. Ellis. No, not that jerk. I'm not talking about that guy. No, not Jeremy. No, not that guy. Hey, Derek, how are you, man? Welcome to the call. If you guys have questions out there in TikTok land, tonight's topic, we're talking about debt, equity, and foreclosure. We're talking about foreclosing on your lenders. We're talking about you guys doing it. Did you know you could do that? One of the things that Natasha was talking about earlier was the timing on when to do it. So if you have a mortgage or if you have any other kind of loan that has had collateral attached to it. Okay. So obviously credit cards don't have collateral attached to them, but secured debt does. And if you're dealing with that, and these people are not servicing the loan properly, and they're not servicing the loan, a lot of times they don't. You have recourse, but only if you know how to contract, only if you know how to make those presentments, only if you know how to really get through that door and make it happen. I've done it. I've done it more than once. Welcome to the call, Matt. Glad that you're here. And many of my other students have actually done the same thing. We're also going to be talking about, last year I had 2 students that actually foreclosed on their homes, took them from the bank. That's hard to do. I'm going to tell you, that's hard to do. I'm going to tell you exactly how they did it, step by step by step. Here's where they started first. They were in honor. Okay. If you're not in honor, I was listening to some guy, Natasha, out there. And I think I did a video on him too. And he was saying all this cute stuff you could say when you go into court. We need to prove this and you need to prove that and show me this and show me that. It was really funny, Natasha, is that he says that what he's not understanding is that you can't expect the bank to service the loan when you're in dishonor, and they won't. So he was loading these people up with all these great comments to make, and they were great comments. But if you're waiting till after the fact, man, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're missing it. You're missing it completely. And this is where things have to change. This is where this is where we have to straighten this whole thing out. I hope that's making sense, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome all 150 of you guys on TikTok. So glad that you guys are here. Don't be shy. If you have questions, ask. If you know of a process out there and you're not sure if it works or not, let's talk about it, man. Go ahead, throw it up on the screen, man. We'll talk about it. I don't mind. And I encourage it. I encourage any of you guys, if you have questions, okay, or if you feel like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, let's ask him some questions. Please, 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 please. And I don't mean that in a prideful way. I mean it as in, please come and do it. Please come and do it. Because if I'm fibbing, you know what? I deserve to be exposed. But if I'm telling the truth, that changes things now, doesn't it? And I assure you, I've been doing this for 8.5 years. I have no reason to not tell the truth. But any of you guys out there want to try to stump the trunk, come on up, man. Give it a shot. David. Yeah, David, you decide you want to come on the call? Anytime, brother. Anytime. We would love to have you on the call. We'd invite you, Natasha. I would love to have you on the call. And I'm sure there's a few other folks that love to hear David's voice on the call too, right? Because that would be a straight thing to do, wouldn't it? But we're not going to mention any real names or anything because people get their feelings hurt when you say that. What's that? Oh, I was just calling out David in case he wants to get himself riled up like he thinks he knows something. Please come on the call, man, and straighten me out. Please. I would love to hear how some history lesson from 1872 is going to pay my mortgage. Please tell me how that happens. And meanwhile, those of us that are here on the real range, we're going to be talking about how to do this stuff right. And this is all about managing you. This is all about taking care of you. Okay. Taking care of your family. And if we do that and we protect this thing, you know what? You're going to do well in this process. You're going to do well on the back end of all of this stuff because you're going to succeed. Your children are going to see that you're succeeding at what you do, and they're going to follow you. They're going to absolutely follow you. Are there any other questions, comments? Thank you for all the questions and comments too, by the way, everybody. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about unsecured debt and secured debt both. I'm going to be talking to you about foreclosure. I'm going to talk to you about a particular case. Now, the second day is nothing but law. So I'm going to be talking about 2 cases, one where I went to court and one where I did not. Didn't have to. And the reason why is because I'm using the firm mailing book. And I'm going to show you why. Actually, I ended up taking my firm mailing book out, showing it to the cops, show that they received the payment. And that was that. Moving on. This is how powerful this stuff really can be. Okay. We can do this so much better if we're doing it. Okay. If we're putting in the time. So any other questions, comments? Tasha, you got anything cooking over there? Any questions on your end?
Well, no, I think one of my questions is the service in the contract. How do you actually know that they're not because they bid you, or what would be some of the stipulations that they're not servicing the contract correctly to where you leeway to foreclose on them?
That's a good question. Okay, so let's just say your scenario. Okay, you've been paying on this whatever equipment for forever, and now ABC Lending sends you a thing saying, "Hey, you guys need to send us all. You need to send your payments to us from now on. Your debt has been sold." This is when you want to send a validation letter to the servicer, and you want to ask them to prove all of these things. Now, if you guys take my class and you actually listen to the and actually get the templates and everything, you're going to see exactly how the stuff works from A to B, and more importantly, how effective and how strong it actually is. So I hope that answered your question. Did I answer your question, Natasha?
It did. So it would be basically if they double made you kind of double pay them or something of that nature.
Well, not necessarily double. Well, not necessarily. Okay. Well, I mean, I had a scenario where they double billed me. You know, you ever done that? You ever had that when they double bill you or they misbill you on something? No. What I did was I wrote them a validation letter and paid it. Here's your 2 payments. Now show me where you can do that. Show me where it's legal.
Okay.
Show me you didn't break the contract.
Okay.
That's what we're going to be talking about in this class. We're going to be talking about how to address these folks. So if you're dealing with a lender, you know, another lender that's decided to swoop in and take over your mortgage, understand that your note actually stays with the other lender until you give consent. That's why they want your information so bad. That's why they want you on the phone so bad, because they just need your consent. If they get your consent, they can run down the street with your CAFR and they don't care. They don't care whose it is. That's what they do. Any questions? Any other questions? TikTok? Y'all got anything? No. Go ahead, Natasha. What else did I not cover?
Oh, no, that actually, that hit. I was like, hey.
Ding, 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 ding. I did good this time. Right on.
You did great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you know what? I tell you, man, we got to, and I don't see any other questions coming in. Let's just do this. We'll go ahead and cut it short tonight. I'm super tired. I want to wish everybody a wonderful Memorial Day. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day as well. If you have questions about the class, set an appointment with me. Okay. That's the best thing you can do. Best thing you can do for yourself. Just set an appointment with me and we'll meet. If we're not able to do that appointment, if you're not able to set one for tomorrow before the class starts, please call my office tomorrow. Go onto the website. Feel free to call me in my office. I'd love to meet with you. Be happy to help you guys. Any other questions or comments? Awesome. I think we had a great call tonight. Keep Lance Phillips and the Phillips family in y'all's prayers. They really could use it, and we could use the practice, to be honest with you. So y'all keep him in your prayers, and he's really going through a lot right now. I know y'all might have seen some of the pictures that were posted, and yes, he's happy and he's great and everything else, but there's still something going on the inside there. So we need to think about that and give him some prayer. If you guys could just go ahead and pray for him, and he's just going through a lot. So I so appreciate all of you guys. Natasha and I thank all of you guys for being here on the call. All of you guys in TikTok land out there. Wow, it was a whole bunch of you, 150 of you guys from what I can see. I want to welcome all of you guys and thank you so much for being on the call. If you have questions, okay, set an appointment with me. It's completely free. Love to meet with you guys. Have a good night, everybody.